Could you all please stand for the arrival of the procession?
Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to Keele and this very special occasion of your graduation ceremony. And I want to welcome you all, friends and family and students, and I hope you really enjoyed this very, very important day. And it's actually an even more important day than normal, because these robes have been passed on to me by this wonderful man here, who was our previous Chancellor. And you will find out in a little bit why today is slightly different than usual. But could I just say, I hope you have a wonderful time, and this congregation is now open. Please sit down.
Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor, Lord Lieutenant, guests, graduates. It's a really great pleasure and a huge privilege to have the opportunity to deliver this oration on the occasion of the award of an honorary doctorate to Jonathan Porritt. Someone who has made a truly immense contribution to environmental campaigning and the sustainable development agenda over a period spanning 50 years. Jonathan is a remarkable person, an exceptional intellect, an inspiring and compelling speaker, a great communicator and broadcaster, an eminent and prolific writer, and a hugely effective campaigner for the environment, for sustainability and sustainable development. And this is supported by a deep passion and determination, together with an obstinacy and tenacity that have served both him and society well. I first heard Jonathan speak over 35 years ago in 1986. We've both been trying to work out just how that was possible, and he was both inspiring and thought-provoking. A recent appointee to the university executive described Jonathan as the true rock and roll star of the environmental movement back in the 1980s, 90s, and that really is meant as a compliment in terms of the impact that he's had on the environmental movement. When Jonathan spoke, far more people sat up and started to listen and take notice, probably for the first time, of the serious environmental challenges the planet was facing than had ever been the case before. Over 50 years, Jonathan has played a huge role and worked tirelessly to raise people's awareness and consciousness levels of the environment, the fragility of the planet, and the need for a more sustainable approach to our future global society. It really is impossible not to underestimate the huge and sustained impact and influence that Jonathan has had in ensuring that there is today much greater recognition of the need for sustainable approaches and global action to tackle the threat of climate change and non-sustainable development. Although clearly there is much more that needs to be done. At a young age, Jonathan spent 2 years planting trees and working on sheep farms in New Zealand and Australia, which helped shape some of his early formative thinking around the environment and the need for sustainable development. Jonathan studied modern languages at Oxford, graduating in 1973, after which he directly took up a role teaching in East London. Following a subsequent postgraduate teaching qualification, Jonathan taught for a further 8 years in West London. But in parallel to his career as a teacher, Jonathan decided he needed to learn much more about the environment. And in 1974, Jonathan joined what's now the Green Party, then the Ecology Party, where he did an immense amount of campaigning for environmental change alongside his work as a teacher. He became co-chair of the Green Party in 1980, a position he held until 1983. And in 1984, Jonathan became director of Friends of the Earth, the worldwide environmental campaigning charity, a position he held with great success for 6 years, significantly raising its profile, its impact and its influence. And in 1996, Jonathan co-founded Forum for the Future with Paul Eakins, former Professor of Sustainable Development here at Keele, and Sarah Parkin. Forum for the Future was genuinely pioneering, the first such organisation of this type in the United Kingdom. Over the years, Forum for the Future has become the UK's most prominent sustainable development charity and one of the leading and most successful globally, working with business and civil society to genuinely drive environmental change and accelerate the transition towards a more sustainable future. Jonathan has repeatedly demonstrated that you can have radical views and still work with business and commercial organisations, as well as with government and public organisations, and make a real difference. Jonathan has spent a lot of time working with businesses, including many major multinational organisations, working with and challenging them with great credibility and effectiveness, influencing and changing their practices and behaviours. Jonathan has spent much of his career working with national government organisations, including obviously Friends of the Earth, also the World Wildlife Fund, and is involved in the work of many NGOs and charities as patron, as chair or special advisor. He's president of the Conservation Volunteers, a non-executive director of Wilmot Dixon Holdings, and a director of Collectively, an online platform celebrating sustainable innovation. Jonathan was a trustee of the World Wildlife Foundation from 1991 to 2005, a member of the board of the South West Regional Development Agency from 1999 to 2008. He was also co-founder of the Prince of Wales Business and Sustainability Programme. And in 2000, he became chair of the UK Sustainable Development Commission, a position he held for 9 years, providing high-level advice to government ministers. As our new Chancellor has mentioned, Jonathan is also the outgoing Chancellor of Keele University and has just completed 10 years as Chancellor of this university. Back in 2008, after several years of increasing activity and building momentum, we took a paper to the then University Council with a vision that Keele should pursue what was then called a deep green agenda, and there was an opportunity to establish a really distinctive profile for Keele as a real sector leader in sustainability. And in 2011, when Keele was seeking to appoint a new Chancellor to succeed Sir David Weatherall, a strong consensus emerged that we wanted a new Chancellor who was aligned to and symbolised Keele's vision and ambitions to be a genuine sector leader in sustainability. As the university started to consider possible individuals, Jonathan's name quickly emerged and rapidly came to the fore. And we were absolutely delighted when Jonathan was receptive to our approaches, and in 2012, Jonathan was installed as the 4th Chancellor of Keele University. Throughout his tenure as Chancellor, Jonathan has always been a strong advocate and supporter of Keele and our sustainability endeavours, which we're hugely proud of. As well as providing great wisdom, experience and support, it's fair to say Jonathan has always provided challenge and constructive criticism of our sustainability activities and endeavours. There have been many successes and achievements as we strive to embed sustainability in all aspects of our operations. Possibly best epitomised last year by the development of the campus renewable energy generation park. which is currently generating all of our campus electricity, and yesterday exported 6,322 approximately kilowatt hours of excess renewable energy to the local community via the national grid. Jonathan has always been very supportive of our student-led sustainability initiatives and activities, as well as staff-led and institutional sustainable initiatives. He has, though, also always taken a great interest in the whole university and its activities and well-being, well beyond sustainability, and has always brought a refreshing external perspective to our activities. So to conclude, Jonathan's personal contribution, achievements and commitment to sustainability and sustainable development over a period spanning 50 years are truly remarkable and exceptional. Jonathan was awarded a CBE in January 2000 for services to environmental protection. And in 2017, he received the Ethical Corporation's Lifetime Achievement Award at the Responsible Business Awards. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate and in recognition of his outstanding contribution campaigning on environmental issues and sustainable development for over 50 years, and for his significant contribution to the university as its Chancellor for 10 years, I present to you Jonathan Porritt to be admitted to the degree of Doctor of the University, Honoris Causa.
Sir Jonathan Porritt, CBE, by virtue of my authority as Chancellor, and as someone who greatly appreciates the kindness you've shown me in the handover of our roles, and for all you've contributed to this wonderful university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of the University, Honoris Causa. Many congratulations.
Mark, thank you so much for those very generous words, probably far too generous. I've noticed that if you hang around long enough, people end up saying a few good things about you. There's probably no other way of getting rid of you. And James, thank you for your very kind comment there. Yes, look, it's been a long haul, let's be honest. When you've been at something for 50 years and not much seems to have changed, it can sometimes be a bit wearying, let's be honest. And today, when I was looking at all the media stuff about yesterday being obviously the hottest day ever here in the UK, the one phrase that jumped out at me time after time was, "This has to be the wake-up call." And I just thought, oh my God. And sure enough, just, I suppose really to irritate myself, I checked back in one or two of the things that I was writing back in the 1980s when I was chair of the Green Party, and sure enough, I found an article in 1982 commenting on the latest report from the United Nations about climate change, in which I used those wonderfully appropriate words, "Surely this is the wake-up call for all politicians around the world." So that's 40 years ago. So we have to ask ourselves, what will it take for people to wake up? What will it take? Is it actually going to take a full-on apocalypse with not just our rail tracks and people melting down, but our entire system beginning to melt down? I feel a bit strange standing here in this role now. I'm just so delighted to be an honorary doctor of this university. It is wonderful. During my 10 years here, I've conferred quite a lot on docs during that time. And I was thinking that during those ceremonies, I've always tried to do three things. Firstly, to congratulate the graduates, those whose achievement today we are primarily here to celebrate. That, happily, is the new Chancellor's role. So I can leave that to him, but just to add my own personal congratulations to everything that you've achieved. The second thing was, of course, to sing the praises of this rather wonderful university of ours. Now, to be honest, that was not difficult. because Keele is, in many respects, quite extraordinary. It does so many things, quite quietly sometimes, without shouting about it from the rooftops. So many things on teaching quality, on research, on diversity, on equity issues, on inclusion, on environment, on climate change. It is a remarkable record that is true to its own heritage. So for me, it has been a massive privilege being Chancellor. I have to admit, Mark didn't put this in his oration. It was a bit of a surprise to be asked to be Chancellor of this university, as I'd never really considered myself to be Chancellor material and hadn't quite worked out what it would mean in practice. But I have enjoyed it enormously and have learnt just a huge, huge amount. And I do have to thank my colleagues, Trevor, the Vice-Chancellor who can't be here at this ceremony, and Mark in particular, for their incredible support for me as Chancellor. You will be really well looked after in that regard, James. For their friendship and indeed for their absolutely devoted service to this university. I am so delighted that James Timpson is my successor. Now, on the surface, should you ever look at our biogs, it might look as if we have very different interests, and we've certainly had very different careers. But we are both absolutely passionate about what I call responsible wealth creation, enabling all people in society to use their talents and whatever opportunities they get to produce the goods and the services on which our economy and society depend. The difference between us is that I just bang on about it in theory, whereas James delivers it in practice, day after day, through his company and through the work that he does outside of his company. And to be honest, I've only just started to get to know James. I hope we'll be able to build on that. The leadership that he has shown in that regard has been quite remarkable, particularly in terms of employment practices inside his own company, but also giving chances to those who've been in prison to ensure that they do not offend again. Looking at some of that work, I was reminded that if only we had a culture of listening politicians in this country, rather than a culture of politicians who prefer ideology to evidence, then we would be very significantly further advanced in terms of our prison system than we are today. Mind you, you could say that about a lot of things. So the third task I used to have when I was Chancellor was to share some of my own thoughts and my insights about the state of the world, not just about climate, as you've heard, or about the environment, but about social justice, about democracy, about how we're going to live together on this crowded planet and try and make sense of what looks like a pretty enormous set of challenges bearing down on us at the moment. Obviously, right now, climate is uppermost in my overheated mind. I was in London yesterday, and walking for half an hour from the place where I was doing some work to the tube station was not pleasant, to say the least. Now, on these occasions, as Chancellor, I would normally address my comments to the graduates. But today, with a bit of a breach of protocol, I'm going to address my comments to those on this side of the chapel, to parents, family, and friends. In his commentary yesterday about what's happening with climate change, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, said, "It is as simple as this. We have an absolutely binary choice: collective action or collective suicide." That is not a bit of cheap emotional rhetoric just to wind everybody up. That is the physical reality of where we are today. Uncomfortably, for all of us, we are signatories to that collective suicide pact. We are all complicit in this. So any feelings that you might have of residual skepticism about the science of climate change, about a feeling of powerlessness because what can each of us as an individual do against this vast global problem? I'm too busy to be doing this stuff, and I'm doing everything I can for society and my community, but really I can't be doing with the climate bit. Whatever the reason might be for not engaging in this, those reasons are now definitively null and void. So I have one ask of you today, just one ask. Once all the celebrations are over, and yes, I am reminding myself that today is a day of celebration, even though my tone is heading off in a slightly different direction, but once all the celebrations are over, will you please sit down with those who are graduating today, with these young men and women, and will you ask them what they expect of you? What can you do now with them to ensure that the fate that otherwise awaits us inevitably does not actually befall them at some point in the future? And I am minded of the timing here. I am 72 years old. By the time these young men and women are 70 years old, unthinkable, I know, but just go with it for a moment, it'll be around 2070. And the really horrible thing is that by 2070, almost all of you will be cursing us as very poor ancestors indeed, as people who essentially caused what will be an immensely problematic world at that time. We can still do so much to ensure that this isn't as bad as it is otherwise going to be. So that is my ask. What can you do with these young men and women to turn that around? I should apologize. Really? Probably not the right time for an apocalyptic message of that kind, although if you can't do it 24 hours after the hottest day ever, and if I can't do it, this being my last opportunity to bang this particular pulpit, then it would never be done. So I apologize, and thank you for listening.
Graduands, please stand. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you these candidates who have been found worthy to be admitted to the degrees for which they have been awarded. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Helen Jane Tuig. For the development and psychometric evaluation of a patient-reported outcome measure for polymyalgia rheumatica. For the degree of Master of Science, Rushda Ahmedsab Haji Abdul Rahim. Rebecca Arundel. Fiona Margaret Hunter. Alan Naggington. Gemma Louise Room. Jonathan Walker. Shoned Manon Williams. Ashley Valerie Atkinson. Michael Gareth Bentley. Shivali Bhargava. Winning the school prize for practice placement performance 2021-22, Hannah Jane Bridger. Sinead Burke. Daniel Charles. Alexander Clare. Stuart Andrew Sinclair Eastwood. Rachel Kate Frowen. Winning the school prize for research 2021-22 and the school prize for academic performance 2021-22, Samantha Jeanette Fryer. Lauren Harvey. Rebecca MacDonald. Kieran McAvoy. Evan Miller. Lauren Mills. Aisha Mahmood Mughal. John Chidera Waneri. Winning the school prize for practice placement performance 2021-22, Christopher John Parton. Hannah Paul. Daniel Polymeris. Sebastian David George Richardson. Paul Saki. Joshua James Stevens. Windsor Tan. Winning the school prize for practice placement performance 2021-22, Barry Patrick Wagner. Charlie George Wilkinson. For the degree of Master in Pharmacy, Peter Thomas Fagan. May I ask the students that have just been conferred to stand?
By virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit them to the awards for which they have been listed. Many congratulations. Well done.
Please be seated. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you these candidates who have been found worthy to be admitted to the degrees for which they have been awarded.
Shall we do my little speech first? Am I on next?
I beg your pardon.
It's okay.
I'll sit down.
Okay. So, I'm saying this in front of someone who's said this many times before, so please mark my homework and tell me how well I've done in my address, please, Jonathan. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here today to celebrate the achievements of our students who do so much at Keele, and will I know achieve so much when they leave. Because it's so warm, as we know, and at least you weren't here yesterday when it was at least 10 degrees hotter in here, it's not the day for long speeches, but it's important that we just reflect on all that you've achieved and what the exciting things are that lie ahead for you. And what a journey you've been on. Your experience at university has been different from most of those who went before you and most who come after you. You've been through various stages of lockdown, a word we didn't really know anything about 2.5 years ago. Through times of genuine fear, it's hard to remember what changes we've all had to endure. It was tough, but none of us had a choice, and we had to adapt. As a university community, you had to pivot very quickly into using online education in a way that we've never done at scale before. To keep going with your studies at a time of such huge uncertainty and stress is a major achievement. You may well feel that you've missed out on things, and there is no doubt that you did miss a lot of the social interactions that are a really important part of university life. This will have been particularly hard for those of you who are in your first year at the time of lockdown. I hope, and even presume, that many of you have managed to make up for it since the restrictions came to an end. I'd like you to remember that you've also learned a lot from the experience, and you've had a real chance to stand out from the crowd in many aspects of life. I'm in no way underestimating how hard it was for you. None of us would have wished this on you at all, especially at a time of life when friendships and networks are developed, which can last your whole life. But the adaptability, the resilience, and the determination that was needed to get you through the degree was astonishing. In a life when all of those things will be needed, you've been there and you've done it. And when things get tough in the future, which they will, just remember what you've shown yourself to be capable of. I also hope you recognise the efforts of the amazing staff at Keele and all that they've done to help you through your degree. They also had to change very quickly during COVID, and were often coping with difficult domestic situations, while quickly and dramatically changing the way that education was being delivered to you. Our educators continue to receive national recognition in all sorts of ways. I'm pleased that the very recent student crowd survey placed us first in the UK as judged by the responses of our students, an amazing achievement. I'm certainly very proud of our staff and the way they've coped with this, and I think that you do indeed all appreciate what they do for you. It really is an incredible achievement, what they and you have done. This staff effort is also reflected in the progress that the university has maintained during the last few years. The opening of the new Harper Keele Vet School, with the first students arriving in 2020, and with the new building the following year, is a huge step forward for Keele, as is the development of what we mentioned before of the energy park with our 2 wind turbines and 12,000 solar panels. And it's wonderful that we aren't just consuming electricity, we are providing it to others yesterday. We take our responsibility for helping with the climate emergency very seriously, and I hope that all of you have developed a strong appreciation of the challenge and what might be done about it. In the last year or two, we've also developed the campus further, for example, through the opening of the new chapters area in Chancellor's building, and in what has been described as the most important advances at Keele for years, and being a retailer, I fully support this move, the opening of the Co-op and the mighty Greggs. The staff at Keele are always very proud of our students and alumni, but the respect they have for you is even greater than normal. I'm sure that those of you who are family and friends of our graduates are also brimming with pride today, and so you should be. And before we can go any further, on your behalf, I want to thank your friends and family, as well as the staff of the university, for supporting you during your time at Keele. Today you can allow yourself to be very proud of your own achievements. All of you have been on a big adventure that will have challenged the way you think, taught you new skills, opened up new worlds, and set new horizons. You will also have undergone this huge transition alongside students either physically or remotely from every part of society in the UK and indeed from many parts of the world. Education is a critical mediator of understanding of other cultures, and this is even more important when the biggest challenges that we face in society can only be solved through collaboration on a global scale. It is with this aim of impacting the future of society around the world that here at Keele we're putting significant attention into new research institutes that are aimed at addressing 4 of the biggest challenges that we face as a global population. These are social inclusion, sustainable futures, global health, and ensuring that we all maximise the benefit of a digital society. We have literally hundreds of our staff performing leading research in these areas, and I'm confident that these institutes will have a big impact on society in the years ahead. As I've said, we clearly hope that the environment you've been in here at Keele has prepared you to thrive in that global environment. This background will help you play your part in meeting these big challenges and taking the opportunities that they present with a confidence that will see you continuing the tradition of Keele students having a genuine impact on society. This may be through the professional lives that you undertake or through the way you live your lives at a personal level. Looking after your own health, reducing the adverse effect that you have on our planet, and showing respect and concern for those in less privileged positions than yourselves are all important parts of being players in a forward-looking, kinder, civilised society. You have experienced a rate of change that feels unusual, but it is likely that this will become the norm, and these skills that have seen you through the last couple of years will make you adaptable to those changes. In 20 years' time, many of you will be doing jobs that haven't been invented yet. So, contrary to opinion of some parts of society, universities are not just here to train you for your first job. So, when situations change enormously, the value of a university degree is to put you in a position where you can adapt to these changes and thrive in a modern society. The world will continue to change very quickly, but as graduates, you have developed skills to help you thrive, as long as you maintain a personal commitment to continuing to learn throughout your life. So I have 4 tips for you to think about when you have big decisions to make in life. The first is to stick to your values. Whether it's a friendship or a new job, you will thrive in an environment that sits well with your values. You may end up earning less money or having fewer but closer friends, but you will be your best when you're with people who get you and you get them. The second is to work hard. I sometimes get this wrong, but I try to focus on getting not a good work-life balance, but a good life-work balance. I've never met anyone who wished they spent more time in the office. Thirdly, be kind. As an employer, I get more satisfaction from being kind than making money. Funnily enough, the kinder you are as a colleague and as a leader, the more successful you will be too. Kindness doesn't mean you're a pushover, but it shows you care and you value everybody as an equal. And finally, take risks. For me, the biggest risk I took was employing prison leavers to work in my shops. Many people thought I'd completely lost the plot, but I saw talent when walking those prison wings and wanted to give people a second chance. They had no voice, and I wanted to give them one. Not everyone is comfortable taking risks, but the way we innovate and improve the world is by taking calculated risks. So life, in some ways, is like looking out of a car window. The way ahead has a wide screen to look through. The view is limitless, with so much to see and soak up. There is also one little rear-view mirror and two small side mirrors. These are to look back. By all means, look back at your time at Keele with pride. The friends you've met, the knowledge you've learned, and the contribution that you've made. Keele will always be part of you, but the focus is now on the future. This is a university that we hope you will continue to be proud being associated with, and that you continue to think of as part of your personal future. You now join over 80,000 Keele alumni in all corners of the globe. Alumni demonstrate great value to each other and to the next generation of students through their networks and their links back to Keele. Please keep in touch. This is always a home for you. Make sure we have your contact details, sign up for the Alumni Association, come back and visit, and think about one day maybe you want to give back to this university in the way it's given to you. Your time and experience will be hugely valuable, and you never know, you might meet some of your colleagues and fellow students who are with you at university then, who are here in the future. Our arms are open all the time. So that's it. You've made it. You're leaving here with a qualification that cannot be taken away, one that people will respect the world over, and that will open doors and opportunities for you. But you now need to make it work for you. You can afford to be ambitious. Indeed, you owe it to yourselves to be ambitious. It will be tough sometimes, but if you don't stretch yourself and reach for what you truly want, you will always regret it. I hope you, our next generation of graduates, will have seen yourselves as part of a thriving university, a university that has valued your presence, and you can now go out there and make a real difference. So with that, can I, on behalf of Keele University, give you, our new graduates, our heartiest congratulations, and wish you good health, great happiness, and enormous success in everything you go on to do. Many congratulations.
Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you these candidates who have been found worthy to be admitted to the degrees for which they have been awarded. For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Marcel Kanichukwu Abana. Ramjan Aaron Ali. Rebecca Ann Afwa Achia Amaoko Atta. Samuel John Aris. Winning the school prize for clinical performance in radiography diagnostic imaging 2021-22, Cara Jaquetta Ash. Tatia Benata. Aisling Marie Brennan. Pedro Tso Chan. Louise Philippa Chapman. Jonathan Obadiah Davis. Sarah Everill. Spencer Hannibal. Aileen Horton Sally. Nicola Helen James. Man Hai Heidi Kyung. Keris Lauren Macaulay. Carl John Revel McDermott. Millie Georgia Meredith. Aftab Mirza. Bethan Alice Moore. Louis Robert Morris. Amy Frances Nichols. Belmina Afor Nige. Aaron Thomas Parkinson. Kieran Derek Shutt. Winning the school prize for research in radiography, diagnostic imaging 2021-22, Louise Jane Simpson. Amy Elizabeth Snow. Hassan Mahmood. For the degree of Bachelor of Science Physiotherapy, Nimrit Kaur Chima. Sai Somaya Maravyalahala. Ali Momenemi Poor. Jeffrey John Stubbs. Andrew Dudley Wayne. May I ask the students who have just been conferred to stand. Please be seated. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you in absentia those candidates who appear listed in the programme who are not present.
By virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit them to the awards for which they have been listed.
Graduands and guests are all invited to join the School of Allied Health Professions and our academic staff after the ceremony for a group photograph, followed by refreshments and prize giving for those who have been awarded a prize in the Chancellor's building.
Let us give thanks on this special day in a moment of reflection or prayer according to your practice or belief. We give thanks for our university and recommit ourselves to its mission, that the tasks of education and research may continue to be carried out with integrity. We give thanks for the vision of our founding principal, Lord Lindsay, who directed that Keele exist for the pursuit of truth in the company of friends. This university's foundation also drew on the historic motto of the Sneed family to thank God for all. May that spirit of friendship and thankfulness continue to be fostered by all at Keele. We give thanks for our graduates as they continue this as they conclude this stage of their education. May their skills and qualifications be used for good in their communities and beyond. We give thanks for all staff who have taught and supported them in their learning. May they know the lasting impact their work has had and the change they have enacted in the lives of our graduates. We give thanks for the families and friends present here and around the world. Let us acknowledge with gratitude the love, care and encouragement they have given and continue to show towards our students. May we look forward with hope to the future, that the successes of this university and its graduates will continue to grow, that the gifts we celebrate today will be used fruitfully, that the world may become a better place. May I please invite you to stand.
So before we finish, I also want to congratulate you again, but before so, I want to thank all of the family and friends and supporters of you who've made all of your academic achievements possible. I know you've worked incredibly hard, but it wouldn't have been possible without the support of those around you. So thank you very much to you as well for making their time at Keele so successful. And finally, I hope you have an amazing celebration. You deserve to celebrate today and through the summer. And please always keep wonderful thoughts about Keele and all the amazing times you've had here. And please come back, because as I said earlier, this will always have a little bit of home for you. So many congratulations. Thank you everybody for coming today. And the congregation is now closed. Thank you.